What's popular, YouTube? Another day, another demo. Number 10 is today. And the way that this is going to work, okay, it is a pretty special day. All right, so how we're going to do this, just to cut right to the chase. We've got the HLTV top 20 players of 2020 list coming out tomorrow, starting with number 20 every single day at 2 p.m. Eastern. Unless I think of a better system, every single day at 2 p.m. Eastern, the HLTV article will come out, starting with number 20 tomorrow. So far on this channel, we've done 9 of the first 10. Originally, we weren't going to do this list, and then it started going in, and then we just started doing it. It became fun. It's probably the most fun I've had doing content on this channel since it's just been revitalized, basically, with these daily uploads. So that's awesome. But it's turned to this thing where now we're at number 10, and I want to do the rest. But we can't do the rest just going naturally 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, because then we intersect with HLTV's list. So what I want to do is upload an hour before every single article comes out. As a challenge, whatever. We've been doing this shit, so we can do it. You know, well, why not? I definitely can do it. 7 days or 10 days in a row. I'll upload really early, so about 6 hours before the time you're watching it today, every single day for the next 10 days, going backwards from 20 all the way down to 10. So I guess 9 days would do 20 to 11. And then this video is going to be about revealing 10. And the other thing, and I think that's what we're going to do. I'm just going to race HLTV, and then tomorrow I'll upload it, the number 20, my prediction and what I think the HLTV prediction will be, or my top 20, my 20th, and then what I believe HLTV's 20th will be. And then the next day we'll look back on their article, and there might be some egg on my face depending on what they put in as number 20, and then we can discuss why and whatever and read through the article. And usually the articles are really awesome. So, I mean, we could do as much as read through it and go through and really talk about the player in general and just celebrate their year, if you would like to do that. Or we can do something as simple as just, you know, whatever, go on as normal, watch the demo, briefly mention it and link the article. Totally up to you. But thanks to everybody who's been kind of new and coming in, or just really interested in watching this type of content, because it's obviously been doing very well on the channel, and I think it's really fun to do, and I like, you know, having a little bit of mystery to it. And it's, you know, I've never really looked at stats this much in my life, so I kind of appreciate how fun it's been. It's been a new interesting challenge for me. So thanks for the, you know, new subscribers, new likes, the comments. As always, that's the comments are the reason I keep making these videos and want to every morning. So thank you. Okay, so let me show you what I've got going on now. Here are the list of, here is the list of the top 20. I've blocked out 11 through 20 for both my personal top 20 list and the HLTV prediction top 20 of 2020. So these lists I've made simultaneously to show and like to organize my thoughts and to accomplish two different things. Number one, to see where I feel like the list should go, or where I feel like the list is in my mind, versus when I look at HLTV's past list and use HLTV to, you know, look at the stats and look at events and, you know, look at players that I maybe didn't really follow as closely during the year, where I think that these players will be on the HLTV list. And then these are my predictions. So basically, you know, my criteria for my personal list is basically that I'm picking the players that both, in my mind, and when I do cross-reference with stats, but in my mind, had tons of impact on their team, either in their role or to the results of the team this year, plus displayed incredible individual skill, and then, you know, ideally had deep runs in tournaments, even though that wasn't always possible for some of the players. This is more about you know, individual effort than anything else, trying to ignore the deeper runs. The only thing that I'm including with the deeper runs is the fact that it's, you know, more one games, which add legitimacy to the stats. And also deeper runs means more games versus top teams, which means more of a break actually when it comes to some of the statistics. One of the things that's very hard is taking a player like Magisk, for example, who, his stats are, it's tough. He's playing far more tier 1 teams than most teams this year. He's playing far more maps versus tier 1 teams than most players and teams this year. Astralis are always the number 1 target of the year, so they're the most studied team in the history of the game, as far as I'm concerned. It's very hard for them to keep up extremely high stats, but at the same time, you watch, they win. Players like Magisk are a huge part of it, and they've got to fit in somewhere. So yesterday I had Mantu on, and this is a player that I obviously had high praise for after what I saw this year, 100% on a personal level. But what was really the most impressive part, because it seemed to be, quite a point of contention in the comments yesterday, was that I don't know, some people felt he was overrated. I'm not sure that the arguments all made sense for the people who thought he was overrated. Like, I feel like some people watched some games that were good, some people watched some games that were bad, and they made a blanket statement. But in terms of the stats, when I was looking at his feature rating versus top 5 opponents, I was pretty blown away, because we've got players like the players on Astralis who have played 45 or so maps versus tier 1 opponents, but then most of their individual ratings are 1 to 1.5, right? 1.05, something like that. We look at players like, let's take Magisk, who I wrote in here as an example. Okay, a lot of players had a worse year than they did last year, which is also a little bit strange. But someone like Magisk, for example, is someone who had the call this year, so that factors in. But we look at this is pretty much is 45 maps on the dot, 1.07 rating, and I felt like this was a good amount of tier 1 games, where there were some players who just, had 5 to 15 maps versus tier 1 opponents. Not a great sample size. I feel like 29 maps with a 1.14 is very, very impressive overall. And the fact that it just basically was a better stat line than what he had versus his versus other tiers, which of course he played more maps versus, but still on any level, most players are playing less maps versus top 5 opponents, and then also and are playing kind of a similar ratio of maps, but then also having lower ratings versus the top 5, because they are the top 5. So I thought this was a very impressive stat. It stood out to me. And then we looked at his event ratings overall, and it was just like, man, this was one player who I didn't expect to be here, but I looked at the stats. I was like, there's a really good case for this. And I feel like if someone wanted to make it, that's how, then they would be able to. When I originally wrote out my list, he wasn't here, but when I was looking at in terms of predictions for what HLTV might choose, Mantu is a way up there, a huge surprise in a number of ways. And yeah, again, this was the one that tipped it for me, the 1.14 versus top 5 opponents, and some good games and memories. So yeah, so let's say, for example, as another thing to kind of clear up where a discrepancy might be, a player like Hunter for me, I feel like just had such a big year. He had so much impact. He had really high highs. I think he was the number 1 rated player at Pro League, for example, across the entire thing. So that was a very decent thing. His team reached top 1, definitely because of his performances, right? Thinking about contextualizing a year in that way. ESL Pro League. This was, I guess, 10th to 12th in this whole thing, and then ended up number 1 rating over the maps. Of course, less maps than other players, but still a very, very strong start of the year for him. And then they didn't even really start getting into the second place stuff until right after that. This is when it started to be like second place G2 lol, but still doing really, really well and having deep runs, and he was such a big part of it. And then as soon as Nico joined, things start to taper off a little bit for the whole team. But I think it's this first event that he comes in where it's really, really good for both Nico and Hunter. And kind of, I think Almanac had a great event too. So yes, but that aside, huge year for Hunter, somebody who I personally can't ignore when I think of who I feel like is a top 10 rifler. And then, we'll get to it when we go down through the list of players who are on here. But I have Yuri and Alige in both lists of the top 20. I have them, higher on my list because I feel like they were top 20 riflers this year, but they weren't able to prove it for enough time to be higher. Does that make sense? Like my personal list of players, just like your personal list of players, should be a combination of the stats show stuff, but then they also have the results, and they also have the impression on your mind. Like, they did really well. So let's say, for example, we looked at Yuri's stats, and Yuri just had like a really awesome year. I mean, it was just basically he showed up, he did well, and when the opponents upped in terms of quality, he also upped his gameplay in terms of quality and continued to have impact. So this is one of those things where I'm like, I'm going to rate him highly because I think if this year, if it had all been in Europe, he would have been a top 20 rifler, no doubt. And even though he didn't get to show that because he was playing against lower level competition in North America, he showed that even versus the challenge of not having good practice and coming to Europe was not enough to even put a dent in his stats whatsoever. I think it was pretty phenomenal in that regard. So I'm gonna put him higher than maybe HLTV can in good conscience, if that makes sense. So yeah, so here's some of my logic and stuff that comes into these lists. I have simple over Ziwu, but I don't know. I don't want to put too much stock into this. This for me is extremely close, and I just feel like with my logic, how I'm following through with my logic, I might want to say simple has had more work to do, and it has shown so much in terms of who is better individually. Literally, it's so goddamn close to me that like I don't even care. I don't think. I mean, they care, but like I just don't know how to. I don't really know how to call it. I think this is the closest it's ever been, and I think there's really great arguments both ways. So I'm not kind of upset at any prediction. I just want to, this is a part of the reason maybe I'll put simple. I just want to follow through with like how much I feel like he has impact on his team, regardless of how good his team is or whatever. Okay, so now number 10. For number 10, for both my personal list, top 20 of 2020, and HLTV prediction, top 20 of 2020. For the HLTV prediction, I've got a player you've been waiting for a long time. A player who some of you thought should have been on this list a little bit sooner. A player who, has had very, very consistent performances this year. A player who plays on the infamous op resolution of 1280 by 960. That's right. It's Dupree. That's gonna be another offer. It's Dupree. I've got Stown in here, and I'm kind of glad to be able to show this list now, so I can kind of at least explain my reasoning for both my prediction, what I think will be the HLTV top 20 prediction. Dupree has been the hardest person to place on this list for me, and part of the reason is because I feel like Dupree has had, number one, he's only playing A1, A+ competition all year long. He's had a lot of roster instability to deal with this year. He had a worse year this year than he did last year, and was rated higher last year than he was rated lower last year than he would be this year, if he is in the top 10. Him and Magisk are very close for me. I don't know. Magisk gets into the top 10. It's very hard to say with the stats and the fact that, Magisk has had to call while recovering his individual form, which is something he referenced. But I took Dupree for HLTVs just because of more consistency in the last year across events. And just how he basically... I can remember great rounds from Dupree. I know he has deep tournament wins because of him. I can remember specific maps, Vertigo, Overpass, Dust 2, where, you know, his entries were pivotal, his sight holds were pivotal. And I can say he looked like he was incredibly on form. He caught my attention. If I had to, when I wanted to come into this list and guess after all of the matches that I watched, I would have guessed that right behind Device was Dupree. I thought his stats were better than they actually were, and they still proved to be very good overall. So that's why I'm gonna guess that he's here in the top 10. For me, Magisk impressed a little bit more just because of higher highs, and maybe even it feels like more impact with just how insane some of the round, like in terms of who is the top 10 rifler, it just feels like Magisk just leaves more of an impression on me. And it's super close. Like, it's just so damn close. And the way that Magisk picked up IGLing, still was able to have mad impact. And then when he dropped IGLing, proved that that was holding him back, and then went to another level at the end of the year. I feel like if the whole year was like that, he would have overtaken Dupree in my mind. So that's why I'm putting him on my personal list here. And yeah, I talked a lot. We've got a Dupree demo. Let's get into it. I hope that clears some stuff up. And tomorrow we'll be revealing our top 20 from both my personal NHL TV prediction list. An hour before, so about 7 hours ago tomorrow. Okay? I'll have an upload on this channel before the article comes out on HLTV, okay? All right. Let's go ahead and check out the Dupree demo and celebrate Dupree a little bit. A person who, you know, he's not far behind on my list either when it comes to, you know, where he stands. I don't want to spoil anything, but of course he still is in the top 20 on my list. And as I mentioned, is a player that I can remember a lot of great rounds where I just, you know, it has to be noted. It feels like they would have, you know, lost tournaments if not for Dupree. His individual form looked very good, looked like very, very confident. And we've got this game, I think it's from the IEM Global Challenge versus Team Liquid. Puts up a strong defense. Wow, oh my God, no way he gets I don't think I watched this game. Is he going to go for the ace? No, Twist. We'll stop him at the very least. And that'll leave one more player outside Monster. Yes, they'll both be taken down by Device. Great spectating by Dupree. And we move on forward into the next round. That was a really, really sick pistol round from Dupree. And one thing that was kind of interesting is I was really looking for a T-side half where we could look and talk more about entry pathing. And I wanted to look through for Dupree. But honestly, a lot of his recent T-halves were really disappointing. The last couple of tournaments. Here's kind of a farm, some good rifle work with the AUG. But there wasn't that much that I could find. I couldn't even find a positive T-half recently. It felt like a lot of his really, really strong halves were on CT side, which I feel like is another thing that's like, it's like a Mythbusters moment. You wouldn't think, thinking about Dupree, that like most of his CT halves are great. Or maybe that's just me. I don't know. I would have always assumed like he's one of the players who maybe has a better or an even T side to CT side. But it's just not the half that people are putting up the best stats on usually. So it's understandable. Into this round, they've got the strong A-site defense. One left. Let's see if the money grenade goes in. Oh, it does. Ooh, that was nice. Just a light touch on that bad boy. 3-0 start. We got the deep molly. This one goes to the stairs. You throw it to disrupt the offense, trying to bust out into the playground, either stopping them or getting them to use a smoke or getting them to take some damage and run through. Either way, giving you some information, getting some damage off. Causing a nuisance. It's an expensive grenade to throw, but it can definitely be worthwhile. And it's something that it's one of those conditioning grenades, something I talk about a lot, but it's an expensive piece of utility, but it's something that you can't just throw on the rounds you want to push, right? Because then the rounds you want to push are too obvious. So you've got to either throw it every round or throw it on rounds you're not going to use it in, you know, different setups just to throw people off, because otherwise it's not going to have any value when you want to push with it, which means it's, you know, sometimes a $600 expense that is just money out the window. You're not spotting it. You're not using it for information. And now here we're trying to get into a powerful spot. We see that drop smoke on long just so he can fight this way, and someone has to push through to duel him. I think he knows the last guy is also there. And this is why when you come up bathrooms and a team has long control versus you, you're not in a really good spot. So they tried to attack him. It didn't work. And now we're moving on to a stair stack of super power. This position got powered up so much by the AUG. This is something that Art started doing a lot more. Simple's doing. We've got a place here now where you've got a rifle, so it's not as scary. You don't have to fall back as soon as if you have an op. You can also, again, just try like basically melt them down. You've got a headshot angle, so they can barely find you. How are you not? Oh my god, he didn't die. And then he gets a kill. You're kidding. And he's looking for the next. And he gets out alive. Wow. Swift. He is so blessed. He has the heaven's grace. Did you see how that nade just landed right beside him on the top of the stairs? He was supposed to die. That was his final destination. Molly goes deep again. This time it's free because he picks him up. That's why you always got to pick up your grenades. And we saw what the kind of work the AUG could do. And another reason why that shelf boost is so powerful is because, you know, maintaining stairs control, it's a scary thing for CT side, but it's controlling this very, very short rotation. And look at this. Okay, first of all, middle of the map. Nobody's clearing this because someone blew that door open right from the CT side, which is becoming more and more common. There's a number of reasons why you blow the door open. I'll just go over them quickly. You can opt the door from, if you're not playing, let's say you're not Dupree, no one's here. On short, you can push, you can opt into the door. From the boost, you can see to the back of the stairs, so it's hard to push up if you're a T. If you are Dupree in this setup, you can shoot people in the back when they come up short. You can not show yourself to stairs when you want to open the door or look through for this info. So this is becoming more and more common for the CTs to do. And something not a lot of people were doing before. And my goodness, what a mow down here for Dupree. Looking for another duel. NAF will eventually win. And now it's a 6-0 for Astralis. Largely in part due to Dupree. This is a tough match here. This used to be a very important map in the head-to-head for Liquid and Astralis in 2019. This map and Dust 2 were the two kind of really, really important maps, I would say, which became Vertigo at the end of the year. But these were the two maps that Liquid could win, but didn't necessarily win. And it's not a map that you can get a lot of good practice on in general. Especially, I think, maybe in NA. You know, the old Cloud9, ex-Cloud9 played it. EG, I don't even remember what their vetoes are at this point. I feel like they don't play it that much, but then are they not? Wait, do they? I'll have to look that up. But you know, like Cirque, like they've all played on teams that were very, very good, like NRG and whatever. They were very, very good on Overpass. But okay, look what we've got here. They're jumping through a smoke because they don't think Dupree's alive, and he ends up getting all of the kills. Look at this. Just the smoke a little bit deep in, it means he can stand there. They had no idea he might be just waiting around. Geez, I mean, they're just feeding him. That was such an easy round. Just a very big lack of awareness from Team Liquid, to be honest. He was probably surprised he was able to get away with that position one more time. You know, that's a spot where if you kill, you know, you look for the name tags, right? You don't kill Dupree yet. There's a smoke there on long. You know, 1 + 1 is 2. You've seen him. You know that Dupree was there in the past. Is it the best situation where you want to jump through a smoke with an op out and then have your riflers come up late? I don't know. But they run the risk and they get punished for it. And the AUG has been doing so well. So off the fading smoke, he pushes in at the perfect time to see Alicia's feet. And he gets info on 3 with his very short death cam. That's enough for the CTs to feel very comfortable. And Tech 9s, they're doing damage, but not enough. 8-0 start. Deep molly again into the stairs. They mollied aggressively. They're not nading the door open for Astralis. And now we've got a very standard setup here for Team Liquid, so it's a pretty powerful position, but look who else has an AUG. It's Zipix. Will this be the first round that they win? So Dupree does not rotate over towards B, even though there's pressure, so he's correct about it. Now he's in the right location. And an interesting spot. He does win his first duel. And man, he did not have the advantage there. I think he gets a dink off on Naf as well. Device looking for an op shot. I'm going to take that out. And we'll see the frantic spectating here by Dupree. Of course, when we watch these POV demos on HLAE, we watch them with, we can see what Dupree is spectating. This is actually, I believe, how they were able to catch the coaches that cheated in the coach bug scandal. The great coach bug scandal of 2020. They were able to switch the coach's perspective and see where they were spectating using Half-Life After Effects. I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Looking underneath. Let's see how he plays this. He sits. I think I feel like I remember this round. I think someone peeks him in a second. There it is, twist. Oh my god, he actually switched to a nade after kind of clearing that. And now we're just trying to find two if possible. Looks like he's not completely in trust with his teammate who's watching over the top of the stairs. They could have walked around him. Dupree is in play for himself mode. Here, they would love to keep this 5v4. Oh, okay. He didn't expect that at all. So let's see how he reads this spot. They are behind him, and oh my god. He's not stopping. He knows the last player was out here too, and oh my goodness gracious, dude. What is that? He made them all look like bots. I have no idea. I mean, sometimes you just got to be in awe at both like how bad a team can look, but also how a good player can make a good team or insane players look bad, right? Like just winning the 4 individual duels versus Team Liquid, like these players are just, it's like, if nothing else, how do you do that? It's just a pure individual skill that's like the outrageous part. 10-1. Oh, amazing. We've got the rare, it's like a ho-oh. We're getting the rare Dupree op showcase. Skill testing question, just to see if the chat's still alive. No, we're not on Twitch. I don't know why I said that. What was the tournament that Dupree opt at as a primary? When I believe Dennis came on as a stand-in. Oof. I'm only asking as a skill testing question because I forgot. We know that Dupree has aspirations of being an opper. Deep down, he resents playing with Device, thinking, man, if this Device guy wasn't such a good opper, I would be the #1 opper on Team Astralis, the #3 player in the world. It would be me. He does love to op. So this top bathroom's connection, he's relying on his teammate here to watch behind him. It's always about the duos on Overpass when it comes to the A bathrooms. Your opper and your very like trustworthy solo rifler, and then 3 mad riflers over in B basically that need to stop doubling up on monster when watching short, that kind of thing. And these two players on A site have to play connected and be very fluid, right? Like their positions are going to change drastically in a round. Like right now, the A site is being taken, but they have the long control setup. They isolate the bomb, and they've got to play kind of unique Counter-Strike almost every single round in that regard, because different situations happen. You don't typically just defend from the site. It's about the T's either running into you at the long bathrooms in some way, or your, stair setup, or your forward aggressive A setup, or not seeing you and then trying to figure out how to deal with you later, right? When you go play your long setup and then rotate around through bathrooms. But it's all about watching the mini map for the A players when you watch these demos and looking at how, Dupree and Device in the situation play off of each other and just copy and pasting those setups into your games, because that's just what it's all about. You just got to have a player who's comfortable playing high frag locations by himself and your opper, and just have them have good chemistry working together, and then just play complementary setups that make sense, that you're comfortable in. But there's a lot of, trusting your teammate and trusting yourself, because you're not really just playing behind a super standard box like Dice here and then just like chilling and like playing, 60-40 duels over and over again. You're really just kind of floating out in the open, and sometimes need to make a really scary rotation or use a smoke to escape or perform some kind of big flank, or, there's a lot of movement. So this long setup is like, it's just such a good one. Now he's just playing perfectly for anti-flash, not even relying on a spot here from his teammate, just making sure to dodge the flashes first and foremost, which I love. Let's see which way Liquid attack from. They did see the flash to clear things out at long, and Device, he is taking some time to spot and help out Dupree, but sometimes he is just watching the bathrooms. And now at 20 seconds, it's just a matter of there's not a lot of time here. So Dupree is just watching this, knowing that they're not, setting up pop flashes from far back. One thing is, depending on the clock, they can't throw a flash that he can't hear the pin being pulled unless they're all the way back at the back of long. But at 20 seconds, they're not going to be back there to set that up. So he doesn't need to play anti-flash in this position. And that's why sometimes these like late round executes that people do, just they fall super flat, especially when you wait around for no specific reason. And yeah, that was a poor attack by Team Liquid. They don't deal with long at all. They come into the A side, it falls flat. But as usually with what happens in setups like these, is like, yeah, the other team will just win the last round for like no reason. And we'll see if that's the case right now. We've got Grim down there. Okay, final round of the half. Let's see what Device can do. I don't know. Is this a 1v1? It is. Device trying to fake the jump down. And we'll see where this player could be. Let's see. Where do you think he is? I think he's pushed CT. Device pushing down. He's not seeing anything. Smoke will come out. Oh no, this is Naf spraying him, right? Yeah, and he misses, and then Device actually gets it because he stopped spraying him down. Oh my god, I remember this. Wow. Tough way to go out. Really brutal half. Sorry, Team Liquid, that we had to look at that one. That's the demo today. What the hell is wrong with my hair? I will be back tomorrow, an hour before the HLTV prediction list, to go through what I think will be the top 20, then the top 19, then the top 18. I hope it's not too confusing. And thank you again for joining me on this journey. It's been very, very fun. The most fun I've had making content since we've revived the channel. And yeah, thanks for the comments, likes, and subscriptions. Peace out, everybody, and I'll see you tomorrow for another Coach Lau.